My conflict management style. What is conflict? Interpersonal conflict is a struggle among a small number of interdependent people, arising from perceived interference with goal achievement. Not every disagreement or argument rises to the level of interpersonal conflict. A true conflict requires that both sides be invested in the outcome. However, a casual disagreement can rise to the level of interpersonal conflict. Interpersonal conflict requires at least a minimal amount of interdependence. In order for there to be conflict, some action must be required from the other person in order to achieve the goal. If one person needs no input from another in order to achieve their goal, there's nothing standing in their way. Therefore, no conflict is necessary. Conflict includes interference with goal achievement. There are 4 types of goals in interpersonal conflict, as noted in the text. Substantive goals involve the acquisition or utilization of tangible, finite resources. Process goals are best practices, the way things should be done. Relationship goals are all about who or what the two parties are to each other. What is the status of their relationship? Face goals are wrapped up in one's sense of pride, self-worth, self-respect, or power. How does conflict play out in my life? Every day I have new goals to achieve and things standing in the way of those goals. Getting to work on time. Are other drivers preventing me from getting where I need to go in a timely manner? Doing my job safely and efficiently. Are coworkers not cooperating with me, or are they making my life difficult? Completing schoolwork. Are people being too noisy in the library or taking up all the computers? Having a quiet evening at home. Are my neighbors partying tonight or fighting with each other? Selected conflict management theories. My 3 favorite theories from the text are the field theory, attribution theory, and social exchange theory. Field theory. Field theory was developed in the years prior to World War II. It posits that within any system there are forces which drive conflicts and forces which restrain them. There are 3 basic types of conflict. Approach, when there are 2 choices of perceived equal positive value, for example, picking between promotion to 2 different positions. Avoid, when there are 2 choices of equal negative value, for example, choosing between being transferred to an undesirable location or taking a large pay cut. Approach, avoid, when there are 2 choices of opposing positive and negative value, for example, getting a large raise in exchange for moving to an undesirable location. Attribution theory. Attribution theory was developed in the 1950s, and it explains how people make sense of the world around them. As we observe and navigate the world around us, we are constantly evaluating our surroundings and attributing meaning to everything we see, both from objects in the world and the words and actions of people. There are 2 types of attribution. Internal attributions label behavior as arising from the other person's personality, values, or characteristics. Is this person late to our meeting because they are lazy or because they just don't care? External attributions assume that the behavior is caused by a situation outside the individual's control. Is this person late to our meeting because traffic was bad or some kind of family situation came up? Social exchange theory. Social exchange theory also originated in the 1950s. It assumes that relationships have a transactional nature to them, and people are constantly evaluating their relationships to see if the effort required to maintain them is worth it. Maintaining a good relationship is hard work, which exchange theory might term an investment cost. Relationships provide a variety of potential rewards: self-esteem, financial security, intimacy, access to resources, and so forth. In a committed relationship where both are going to college, time can be a rare commodity. Time for romance may conflict with time to study. Socializing with a partner's friends may interfere with time to exercise and stay in shape. Going to a movie may be at the cost of lost sleep or a poorly written assignment. Within social exchange theory, each individual calculates the costs and benefits to the relationship and to career ambitions before making choices. My preferred conflict style. I am drawing from the 8 styles laid out in the Intercultural Conflict text, which I prefer because they are more descriptive and can better fit a variety of situations. There are 4 conflict styles I find myself using most often. Integrating, in which I try to come as close as possible to achieving the goals for both sides. Compromising, in which both sides give up some elements of their goal in order to reach some kind of midpoint agreement. Avoiding, where I do my best to ignore the conflict and hope it resolves itself. And obliging, in which I give in to the other person's goal in order to end the conflict as quickly as possible. I find myself avoiding the domination style most often, as I am not a confrontational person and do not enjoy imposing my will on others against their wishes. I also avoid the neglect style as much as possible, because sarcasm and passive aggression are unproductive and tend to prolong any conflict. My conflict style in different situations. With close family and friends, I am most likely to use the avoiding or obliging techniques. I have a tendency to want to avoid drawn-out conflict over the long term, and so use techniques to find the path of least resistance with those I have closer relationships to. At work, at school, or with those from different cultures, I prefer integrating or compromising. I am less concerned with disagreeing with people I am not close to, and am more willing to push my own agenda within reason. If a third-party help is available and I can be assured of their neutral status, I may make use of them as well. What would I change about my personal conflict management style? My conflict management style would leave some to believe that I am a pushover and easy to dominate in any conflict, although I prefer to think of it as picking my battles. I am too passive in some situations, especially when the conflict has an emotional element to it. I need to be more engaged in finding a solution to prickly conflict situations, no matter how uncomfortable they may make me. I believe I need to be more of an advocate for my own position, especially when I believe I am in the right. If the situation is important enough to warrant a conflict in the first place, then it is important enough for me to insist that my grievances be heard. I could go about changing my conflict management style by being more assertive about my position and why it is important to me. Just as important is establishing boundaries for people that tend towards the domination style of conflict management. My ongoing conflict. My sister broke up with her boyfriend and needed a place to crash for a few months. My wife and I agreed to rent a room to her for $250 a month, including internet and utilities. Unfortunately, she is not able to keep up with her end of the bargain and is consistently late with rent. This wouldn't be a problem if our electric and internet costs hadn't also increased by nearly $200 a month. I would not find this all by itself to be such a big deal, but she does seem to have plenty of money for marijuana. How can I resolve this conflict? I don't want to take advantage of someone in need, and I won't extort money from a family member. However, I do think we can make an agreement that will allow us both to come away satisfied. I am not trying to dictate how she lives. I only want her to fulfill the agreement she made with me before she moved in. Ideally, we can make an agreement where she pays the amount we agreed upon, and she is still able to have fun and live her life. I won't just kick her out, but I do need her to pay something. Maybe she can just reimburse me for the increased cost of utilities and internet in exchange for paying rent consistently and on time. If integration and compromise won't work, then maybe Mom can. I won't ask my mom for money, but maybe she can mediate between the two of us to find a solution. This is a last resort, however, because we are grown adults and shouldn't need Mom to settle our disputes for us any longer. What are the barriers to resolving this conflict? Unfortunately, both of us are stubborn and can fall into the competitive or passive-aggressive conflict styles if we are not careful. I also have to be careful not to attribute motives to my sister that she does not have. I cannot assume she is maliciously choosing to withhold rent money, nor can I assume she is lazy. She is going through a difficult time and genuinely needs help, and I want to offer that help in good faith. Does she understand the terms of our original agreement? Did I imply the terms of our agreement instead of explicitly explaining my position? We have very different schedules, and it is difficult to find time for a discussion. This conversation is one best held in person rather than through text message.